Hello, Brian Krause here. Over the past few months, I've been going across the country giving presentations at various trade shows. During my talk, I usually stop and ask the audience to fill out a survey that I've left spread across the tables in the ballroom. Reality is, when I started doing these, I was fairly certain of what answers I'd get back. Instead, I ended up learning some interesting insights that I want to share with you today. As I was doing my surveys, I asked 5 simple questions around identity and access management. As you see here, these are around identity consolidation, use of MFA, how long it takes to onboard employees, and where use of machine learning is for making risk-based authentication decisions. Here you'll see the results. I've also included them in the YouTube notes below. What stands out is that 70% of the attendees, these were primarily security folks, consider it a priority to consolidate identity management solutions. On the MFA front, use of technologies are all over the place. Half of those surveyed seem to have figured out BYOD, and then with onboarding, companies seem to be very bipolar. It's really quick or takes forever. Then there is machine learning, which certainly has not been adopted in mass by a long shot. I mentioned earlier, I learned something interesting. As we all know, stats only tell part of the story. As a guy who had to read all of the surveys and enter the data, there was info that just didn't fit neatly within a cute little infographic. I would come across write ins and it would say something to the extent of, "We think we have BYOD solved, but you know." I'd see two guys from the same company on the same team answer the same questions with completely opposite answers. Or it seems like everybody would answer the identity consolidation question, but MFA, BYOD, and onboarding would often be left blank. Finally, since I was the speaker, many of these people would stop me at the show to chat afterwards. After all of these surveys and conversations, I came across a couple lessons and a realization. First is the fact that there are way too many places to store identities within most companies. Everyone hates all of the passwords they need. It kills productivity for the workforce, and IT spends an insane amount of time resetting or unlocking accounts. This would explain why 70% of those surveyed said identity consolidation is a priority for their organization. On the MFA front, I was expecting people to tell me they had way too many MFA technologies in place. In conversation, this seemed to be a reality. It just isn't that obvious at first glance. What did stick out is if you ask 5 people where to implement MFA, you'll get way more than 5 answers. It boils down to MFA usage and deployment is all over the place. Everyone knows they need it, but figuring out how to deploy across key business applications is often a mystery. As for my other questions, they just opened up a whole can of worms. Most haven't had the chance to properly address these problems as they're fighting all sorts of other fires. There is interest in figuring out this grand vision, but it is really hard to think about running a marathon if you're struggling on a 5K. At the end of the day, because there are so many security and access management solutions, there is general confusion as to where to start. This leads to hesitation. When I say confusion, it isn't that IT folks don't understand the individual technologies. It is more of an issue of how do you sell 5 types of products that affect 5 departments across the company, many of which aren't even in IT. 2 people often have a hard enough time figuring out what pizza to order for dinner. Now you need 5 to 25 people in your company to agree on something? In the words of Charlie Brown, good grief. At this point, I feel like I've mostly said you're up a creek. If you do nothing, you pretty much are and without a paddle. However, there are some simple steps that will let you paddle forward. In all of my discussions, I found we quickly get to talking single sign-on. Without a proper SSO solution in place, it is almost impossible to move forward. To implement that cool provisioning tool to make the HR system the source of truth, you need to have SSO. Maybe you're looking to implement a CASB. Guess what? You need SSO. You're trying to do MFA to your applications to pass that audit. It really only works with SSO in place. Think you're going to take security automation to the next level with ServiceNow? Guess what? We're back to SSO. Finally, you want that awesome Palo Alto Networks environment to automate security decisions so your SOC operates like some covert government operation? Well, lo and behold, we get back to the single sign-on conversation. Now, this is all the big picture, big vision, moving to the future kind of stuff. But what about today? Well, that's a great question. Most everyone I spoke to tells me they just want their applications to work for them. They implemented all sorts of cloud apps so their businesses could make more money. However, they spend tons of time resetting passwords or listening to users complain how everything is so bad. In reality, that user just got locked out. There isn't anything wrong with the application. So, what is my recommendation? Obviously, address and implement SSO right away and give yourself some breathing room. You need to have some way to manage your users. So, manage everything through Active Directory. You have it, you know it, and it works. Single sign-on is not about having one password that you use everywhere, entering it over and over again. It is about logging in once and not needing to type a password at all. With a legit SSO, you are passing tokens. Tokens let users click on a tile to access their apps. Simple and secure. This is about getting rid of passwords, which also means getting rid of headaches. Pick an SSO that has MFA built in. It will be basic, but gets your house in order fast. Your SSO is what allows for MFA to work to all of your cloud apps anyways. You'll want to further build out the MFA solution over time, but this makes for a perfect second step. Finally, make your life easy. SSO solves the first step of identity management. You can then breathe and start planning for a true zero trust strategy. Now you look like a rock star because everyone in your company can do their job. Plus, you may actually get the internal support needed to keep building out on your vision. Certainly, the direction these surveys led me wasn't exactly what I expected, but if you don't ask yourself, what am I missing? It's really hard to elevate to the next level. Thank you for taking the time to listen today and hit me up with any questions I didn't answer. Have a great day.